Hi, my name is Christy, also known as Sullen Girl, and I'm the author of the blog Speaking Out About Self-Injury on HealthyPlace.com. Today, I wanted to talk about when you disclose to a family member or friend that you struggle with a mental illness or that you self-injure and they simply don't believe you. And this actually happens quite commonly with people. And it can be because a lot of, people close to you can be in denial about your illness and they just don't want to accept it. And unfortunately, I've dealt with this a lot in my life. I have some people close to me who really have always been in denial ever since I came out to them that, I was struggling with depression and self-injury and anxiety. And, some people honestly are struggling with stigmas surrounding mental illness and they just don't understand and they don't really know the facts about mental illness or self-injury. And then there's other people who might understand, but they just don't want to accept that you could be suffering from it. And I was just thinking about that and struggling with it a bit myself. And I was trying to think of good tips and ways to approach family or friends, that may be having a hard time believing that you actually suffer from a mental illness at all. And as I've said in previous blogs, knowledge is power. And I think that it's always important for you to come prepared to whoever you're going to be talking to with some kind of resources for them. You just can't wait for them to find out or research themselves, because honestly, sometimes people don't know where to look, or they get afraid to do it, or they simply forget and things never get resolved. So I always say bring to the table with you when you're going to sit down and talk to someone about something as serious as struggling with a mental illness, self-injuring, etc. It's always good to, bring your resources with you, whether it's a favorite book that you have, whether it's links to websites, whether it's printed off articles from websites, anything like that. And HealthyPlace.com is obviously a very wonderful resource for people, and it provides obviously very easy to understand explanations of things. But there are many good resources out there, and I always just say it's best to be prepared. You also have to realize that even if you are prepared and even if you sit down and talk to someone, sometimes just telling them the facts isn't enough. And I've experienced this myself. Some of my family members actually were really hesitant to believe, what I was telling them, and they kind of blamed themselves and they didn't know what to think. And you kind of have to be prepared for questions that might be hard to answer, and you have to be prepared to open up, because sometimes telling facts just isn't enough. You have to actually tell them about some of your experiences, the way that it's affected you, and if that doesn't work, you could always offer to take them with you to a therapy appointment, which I've actually done, and sometimes that's the only way. That seems extreme, but sometimes that's the only way. You also need to understand, and I've learned this the hard way, that some people, it takes them a long time to accept things. And people struggle with self-blame and with, not being knowledgeable about it. And people struggle, so it takes time for people to accept it and be able to be comfortable in knowing that you struggle with an illness and there's nothing they can really do about it, or maybe they didn't catch on to it before. So you have to just know that you need to be patient with them, and hopefully they'll come around. But in my case, there are people who just won't accept it, and that can be because they just will not take the time to understand, or they don't want to believe that you have a problem. But whatever the reason is, if you've tried, you've tried, and in the end, you can't convince everyone, and you can't spend your whole life trying to convince someone or educate them if they don't want to be. And that's been a real struggle for me. But sometimes people just can't be reasoned with, and it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's actually something to do with them. And, it could be a problem that they have that they're not willing to address. But, usually people will come around, but if they don't, it's not your fault, and sometimes you just can't convince everyone. So those are some of my quick tips, and if you have any other tips, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Thank you, and enjoy your holiday season. Bye.